This is the al-maidah initiative, conversation without compromise.
I'm curious. So you said you kind of really stopped being Muslim once you're in Egypt. So at that point, who are you praying to?
So I was just faking it, a lot of it. So my prayers were
But for your kids on the bike, right? Because it's not like
yeah, still praying to Allah, but also hating Allah, like blaming Allah for everything, for the religion, for the politics, for why my life had shattered. You know, I married an American to do better, not to be in this situation. You know, talk about being opportunistic, right? But so I got to the bus station, and then there was another human trafficker guy who was in the business of taking people from different places, and he had been paid somehow. I paid. Sorry, I always forget that. So I had to pay him 60 euros, and him and his wife drove me a few hours to the airport. Well, I don't know how long it was. It felt like hours. I didn't even have a watch. So they drove me and the kids. You know, after we went back to the house, he was an extremist, but he was under disguise because he looked at me with complete utter disgust for not wearing the full Islamic garment. In fact, even when I was in Syria, the militants were, as soon as I got there, were like, "You've got to cover. You tell your wife to cover up," and I refused. And I was like, my state, I had no fear because I was so crazy. And now, like looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I would argue with men with Kalashnikovs, you know. But I didn't care, and I was like, "No, I'm pregnant. I can't breathe under that bag. You wear it. You know." And it was embarrassing for John, and even my 8-year-old was like, "Oh, Satan is controlling her again, my poor mom," you know. But that was me crying for help. That was me as a broken human being at my weakest point, that I didn't even care if they were going to kill me, because I was like, I'm sick of this, you know, and I feel like my kids deserve more. I feel like I deserve more respect as a human being. So anyway, it was really difficult, which is why John was happy to get me out of that situation, and he wanted a nice, obedient wife, and which he replaced me with after a month of leaving. Then, so by the time I got to the airport, Gaziantep, I flew to Istanbul. Sorry,
it is Ataturk. Ataturk's the name of the airport.
So I flew to Istanbul, was in the Radisson, got treated like dirt because they didn't like that we were all sick. We had gotten sick from Syria, which is pretty normal. If you go to any third world country and you drink water, you're going to get sick. Mm-hmm. So we all had weird infections and severe dehydration. I was pregnant. I started losing amniotic fluid, and I was really afraid I was having a miscarriage because it was the worst pain. The pain at this time when I was 6 months pregnant felt as bad as labor. And I remember being at the hotel crying to my then father-in-law, who's a doctor, and just crying to him because of the pain. And then he was like, "What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do for you? You know, I'm not coming to Turkey." And I was like, "Just tell me I'm going to be okay because you're a doctor." It was hard for all of us. He was crying, I was crying. But so I was rushed to the emergency room, had a IV, but I had to leave my kids in the hotel, which is really scary. And I don't trust Turkish hotel workers. Well, the problem is I was told that a woman would watch my kids. And when I came back, 6 hours later from the hospital, because I refused to stay there because I had to get back to my kids, you know, and their ages 8, 4, and 1.5. When I got back, I saw a young man there while they're sleeping, and I kind of freaked out. You know, being the protective mother, the overly protective mother that I had been, I was like, I don't think I even thanked him. I was like, "Okay, you can go." I was so offended. Where is the woman? I wanted a woman to take care of my kids. So, then my in-laws, my former in-laws called my parents in England, who are very familiar with Turkey. They won't travel to America because they are so against the American administration. And she asked them, please, can somebody go? Tania can't even walk. When I came out of hospital, first I was in a wheelchair, and then I was crawling on the floor to move. And because all you had been doing is vomiting, and of course the hotel were mad because even the hotel we had to come clean the room was like, this is not a hospital, this is a hotel. And they didn't even want us to go eat in the restaurant downstairs because I had children. It was more of a business hotel. I couldn't even understand why. My in-laws didn't know any better, but their friend told us to go there. So it was really hard, and my family all said no to helping us, even my children. And then one of my sisters, who's a couple of years older than me, she did it for my mother-in-law. She always wished she had married the American family and lived with non-Muslim family and stuff. So she didn't do it for me or my kids, but whatever her reason, she did it, and she had to help me, in a wheelchair, get back to the UK. And the American government said, you can only stay in the UK for 15 days, and then you have to come back here because we need to know everything in detail, what happened before you start forgetting what's happened, And I understood. But then when I got to England, I hadn't spoken to my family for like 10 years. Not because I didn't want to, but they wouldn't talk to me. They said I was too extreme. And then by the time I got back to the UK, as soon as I got to Turkey, I took off my hijab and I never prayed again. And not prayed that way. Occasionally I need to pray, but I don't bow and say Allah is great because I don't believe it. And I wasn't being forced anymore. And so as soon as I got there, my mom would be like, "Go upstairs and pray." And I'm like, I'm 29 years old. Don't you dare tell me what to do. I'm like, stop treating me like I'm 14. And so that's how bad our relationship is. Mm-hmm. We very much just throw each other under the bus, sadly, and because it's always been a very unloving, unforgiving, hostile environment. And but they wanted me to stay because they were really afraid of losing control over me again. And now they saw me as not being religious anymore. I wasn't the fanatic. They had become religious especially after September. I don't know, 7/7 or something. There was from the BNP, how the BNP had morphed into EDL in a working class neighborhood like Barking. It had made everyone super tribal and against each other and cling on to their roots. So my family living in East London had become more Islamic. Now they're watching the Islam channel and praying and doing Hajj. And then I had done a reverse where I was like, this is a really chauvinistic, misogynistic religion and I really hate these. It's ruined my life. And I was telling them and I was like, I'm not going to pray. Like, I'm sick of this, So we reversed.
Yeah.
And then even the case where I was for 5 months after leaving John, I cried every single day. I cried, and my neighbors could hear me crying every night. But then after 5 months, it's like I ran out of tears. Once my baby was born, my fourth, I was just so mad. I was like, that John hadn't been there during my pregnancy, that he didn't acknowledge that I just had a baby. Because I had still been talking to him to get information out of him. So I was just using the excuse that, you need to talk to the kids because he was like, Dad, I'll let you have that. But it wasn't. I wouldn't have had anything to do with him otherwise. Mm-hmm. And, he didn't call me after having the baby, even though he knew when my birth date was, the delivery date. And it was because he had just gotten married 2 weeks beforehand to a Syrian woman who was from Quraysh tribe and Hashmi, and as if that meant something and as if I should be jealous. And I was like, and the first thing I told her when I met her online was, I feel very sorry for you. I'm not jealous of you. She always like be jealous. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm not jealous of you one bit. I feel pity on you because you have to be married to him now. And she was shocked by how, even like how online, when we would talk videos, how reprimand John. I was so angry at John. I just say whatever I think. But she was in an environment where women don't do that. And she was like, I can't believe she talks to you like that. And I'd be like, you better get used to it because you're going to feel like how I feel one day.